Hi, I'm Elisa Giancelli and I'm your educational coach from Edgware in North London, and I'm here to inspire your children, encourage them to write and read and to have a fantastic general knowledge. I run Elisa's Tutorial School. This is my website, kidslearnfast.co.uk, so you can find out all about me on that. I travel the world and I zoom around London and Yorkshire constantly to find things for my children. Here is my fairy bag. This topic is on fairies and angels, but I have bags and boxes on all different topics. Farm animals, fantastic box full of books and toys and little pieces of writing. One on soldiers and castles, another on dragons, one on dinosaurs, one on Beatrix Potter, one on the Mr. Men. I will be introducing you to these topics mainly because children love excitement and they love to be motivated, and if they see an array of things like this they will tend to write about them more easily. I hope you've watched my YouTubes, my story writing YouTubes, which will tell you about how to write a story, a beginning, middle and end. It's very, very important to describe also and to be creative, to expand on story writing, to create lovely plots. And if you read lots, if you look at different objects related to the subject, you will be inspired much more easily as a child. So let's make a start. This week was the week of Midsummer's Night, and that's the 21st of June and the longest night in the year, and for me the most magical. And so I did fairy writing with my children, and we got them to make their own little books, as this one shows. And in that book I gave them stickers and I gave them lots of notes. I talked to them for a long, long time. The children that come to me vary between 4 and 16, but I did this topic with 4 to 11-year-olds. The boys were doing something else this week. They were doing verbal and non-verbal reasoning, whilst the girls were doing creative writing with me. And all this stuff has come out of my fairy bag. This fairy bag is very important to have because it creates the ambience. So get yourselves bags and boxes and inspire your children like I do. Going back to this, this child is 8 and she put together these notes. And I'm going to read them to you because they're all the facts that I read out to her. Fairies like to eat honey, milk and nectar. They live for several hundred years. Fairies love to dance among fresh flowers. Fairies live on islands, in hollow trees and in gardens. When your teeth fall out, the tooth fairy comes and puts money under your pillow. So don't forget that part, Mum and Dad. Fairies do not like bread or salt. They are magical, they are sparkly and they glitter. Fairies can make themselves invisible. There are small fairies and big fairies. They dress with petals and they make clothes out of flowers and spiders' webs, beautiful ones. Only little girls can see them, and they play harps. Now, one of the children I saw this week did not know what a harp was or what a harpist was, and fairies are your natural harpists, as are angels. So going back to how important I think a good general knowledge is, I encourage my children to get an encyclopedia at home, to have a special little area, their work table, and to do 10 minutes a day of copying from an encyclopedia. I ask them to open the book at random. They might get the orchestra one day, and so we'll write about all those instruments and a conductor and what he does. Or they might get Galileo, or they might get sheep farming in Wales. It doesn't really matter where they open the encyclopedia at random, because all this information will help them become great creative writers. It will help them to become knowledgeable writers. And when children come to me at GCSE, I know the difference. I know the ones that are going to get a 9 and an 8 because of their general knowledge, because of their vocabulary. And if you want your children to hold their own, to be able to discuss with their tutors at university in a sensible, intelligent way, please encourage that. Also encourage reading. In this instance, I'm going to introduce you to my fairy books. and this is a wonderful series, Rainbow Magic. We have Ruby, the red fairy. We have Grace, the glitter fairy. One of my children's called Grace, and she loves this book. And we have Izzi, the indigo fairy. Now, Izzi is very different to your normal fairy. As you can see, normal fairies tend to dress like this, whilst Izzi dresses like this. And there's a little piece about her in this book, if I can find it. And she does all funny things like screw up her face, and she doesn't behave in a very fairy-like way, but her life is very fairy-like, and she helps people, and hopefully their wishes come true, she hopes. Let's read a bit about what she's wearing. She was dressed in indigo denim jeans and a matching jacket covered with spangly patches. Ink drop shaped silver earrings hung in her ears, and her wand was indigo tipped with silver. The fairy stared at Rachel and Kirsty with her hands on her hips. "Who are you?" she asked, "and how do you know my name?" "We've come to take you back to your rainbow sisters. We've found 5 of your sisters so far. We're going to help you all go home to fairyland." "That's brilliant news," Izzi cried. "I've been so worried." "And how did you get to the land of sweets?" Kirsty asked. "The wind blew me down the chimney of Mermaid Cottage and into the story of the Nutcracker," Izzi replied. "I've been in the land of sweets ever since, and I can't go back to fairyland and break Jack Frost's spell without my sisters. I have to get back to Rainspell Island first." Lots there, lots to encourage your children to write and read properly and well. Next is my tin. I love this tin. I bought it full of biscuits, and unfortunately I was the one to eat most of them. Here we've got your traditional little fairies sitting at a stream, dancing and among the flowers, and I just love it, and really helps with describing in my school. Let's put that there. Another important tool is my bookmark. This came from Taormina in Italy. Anna Corsini was doing an exhibition there, and I really enjoyed it. And her pictures of angels and fairies are magnificent and really do help my children. I don't know her personally, but I'd like to thank her very much for the descriptions and the way she helps them. Another important book is Victoria Plum, and she's got 4 woodland animals, birds, flowers and trees, and the fairies live among the woodland creatures and help them very much. This also helps with general knowledge, helps understand the different sorts of deer that you have, helps understand where hedgehogs live in disused rabbit warrens and where rabbits live. So it tells you an awful lot, and my children really benefit from it. In my fairy week, I dealt with fairy worksheets. I don't just deal with your traditional A4 size. I try cut them up to make them interesting and appealing, because little girls love that. So we have colouring, we have addition, subtraction, and we have writing, and that's very, very popular in my school, as is objects, as is Tinkerbell. Peter Pan's wonderful fairy, her wings have fallen off here, sorry. She's beautiful, and everyone knows about Tinkerbell, and a Tinkerbell pencil for them to write with. My other fairies that help describe are my sugar plum fairy, my fairy with silver wings and silver tips, she dances, and my beautiful ceramic fairy who has got beautiful hair. She was made together in a pot. She was made in a pottery factory, and I really love the way she was made. Another tool is my alphabet on fairies. There we go. And the children experiment with different names under the phonic letters, G, H, or A, B, K, D. And we have one fairy for each letter of the alphabet. We do a lot of role playing at Lisa's tutorial school, and this dress has been worn many times by my little fairy girls in their role playing. We have the traditional fairy godmother. Here she is. And I buy my children stickers stickers for sticking in. So here we go. Lots of different work going on, and lots of different objects, which I hope you've loved and your children have loved. And just to remind you how my 4-year-olds write. That's how I can get a 4-year-old to write, through practice and through vocabulary development. And last but not least, my angel cards. These really help my children with vocabulary. We've got the angel of tenderness. We've got the angel of freedom. We've got the angel of courage. And my girls love these, and they learn such a lot from these little cards, and particularly vocabulary, and they love to read them. So this one's the angel of peace, and the angel of gratitude is very beautiful as well, and I get my children to write their own thank you lists. I hope you've enjoyed this YouTube. Thank you very much for following me, for sharing and for subscribing. I'm very grateful. I hope it's helping your children. Boys, you are next. I will be bringing you a boys YouTube soon. Now's my time to say goodbye, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.